So this is a fascinating conversation. I don't know who Matt Getz is, but he says how many of the women rallying against overturning Roe are overeducated, underloved millennials who sadly return from protests to a lonely microwave dinner with their cats and no Bumble matches. To which Jessica Valenti, who by the way is from the United Kingdom, like technically she shouldn't have a horse in this race. The laws in the UK are far more restrictive than the ones in some American states, but okay, fine. Overeducated. If you think this is kind of language is just a gaffe, you're wrong. So I want to address the topic of overeducation because I've seen a lot of progressives on forums be very upset when you talk about this concept, which is totally true. So what is overeducation? Well, overeducation is when you spend years of your life at the university and then you have crippling student debt, you know, the one that leftists don't like, and you don't have a job. So now you're stuck at home with a lot of bills to pay. That's overeducation. Or when you decide to spend a little bit more time at the university to get a master's degree or a PhD or something like that. Meanwhile, your colleagues have decided to go look for a job, and when you finish your master's degree, you start working for your colleague, which is now your boss. Because he climbed up the ladder, and he is now gaining more work experience than you have, so now you work under him because you're overeducated. Yeah, overeducated is someone who gets a job and is being paid less than what they consider they should be paid. That's overeducated. And you know, I noticed that there is this reverence that some people have in the institution of the academia, as if it's the only way for people to gain knowledge. I mean, you can't gain knowledge through apprenticeship. You can't gain knowledge by reading from books. You can't gain knowledge by watching YouTube tutorials on how to do shit, like gardening, for example. No. The only possible way that you can gain knowledge is if you go to a university. That's it. Like, there is no other possible mechanism through which a human being can learn. You know what's also interesting? Like, there are jobs that our parents used to do. Like, for example, the job my father does can't be done now without a degree. But my father did the job without the degree because at the time it wasn't required. So he got in the workforce. He does it quite well. Sometimes even better than people with the degree. But for some reason, the law considers that particular job cannot be done under any circumstance unless you go to a university and get a degree. And not to mention, like, when you go to the university, the reason it's overeducated, you learn so much shit that has absolutely nothing to do with the job that you're going to do. Like, for example, you know, I went through med school, I had to learn English. Why the fuck did I have to learn English? I already knew English when I went to the university. Does it look like I don't know English? I mean, sure, I make a couple of spelling errors. But I would consider that I know English and I learned it outside of the school system. But still, when I went to the university, I had to waste my time doing English for no reason whatsoever. That's overeducation. Like, I was already educated, they overeducated me in the matter. And there's so many other examples. God, like, it's a topic that I would go on for hours. But the idea that, like, oh, well, overeducation is a gaffe. No, it's not. No, it's absolutely not. Like, for example, being a journalist, like Jessica Valenti. You don't need an education to be a journalist. Like, do you know, since the French Revolution, there were so many people writing stuff that had absolutely no education. I mean, I can go through some famous book authors that are read worldwide, and they have no education. And then there are other educated people who write and no one reads their shit. But like, we consider this mythos that, no, you need to be educated. And again, like, this is what really pisses me off. Like, I'm not saying that education doesn't serve a function. But what I am saying is that it's not the only way through knowledge. And then I actually spoke with the person that does hiring at the IT company. He noticed that when he gets someone that's self-taught, like someone that learned to code by themselves, they will see a problem and they will fix it. Like, they will very rarely ask for help because they have the mind developed in a way to realize what is the problem and know how to fix it. But then when you have someone from university, they need handheld. They need constantly to be told what to do, because at the university, they usually teach you that you need to follow orders. Like there is someone on top of you, like the professor, they give you the assignment, and you need to follow the assignment exactly that way. The professor tells you the course, you need to read it, you memorize it, you tell it to the professor at the exam, that's it, you got a grade. But it doesn't really teach you how to do the job. The only thing that the university gives you is the connections. Because you get to network, you get to know people, you get to meet people, you get to become friends with them, and then they help you find the job. That is pretty much it. Like that is what the university does. It gives you a couple of basic principles into what your job might actually be like, tells you where to find the literature, but that's kind of it. And I've been to 2 universities. And by the way, universities aren't hard. All right? Like, the only reason that a lot of people don't have a university education is because they don't have the money to get a university education. But the overwhelming amount of people who legitimately want to get to a uni, they can. Like, if they have the money, they can. And they can also finish it. I knew at med school a guy that had schizophrenia. He finished med school. Took him 9 years. He's not practicing, but he did finish. Because he kept at it. Like, that is the difference between... It's kind of like Dark Souls, if you will. You know, like Dark Souls, you first get to the boss and it seems that it's bullshit, but then you keep trying and you learn the moves and that's pretty much how university is. Like, if you keep trying and you don't go out clubbing, you don't waste your time, you don't procrastinate, but you actually like focus, even if it's hard, but you keep at it and you try to understand it and you keep at it and you spend a lot of time just focusing on your studies, I don't think there are many people that wouldn't go through a university. It's not that hard, really. I'm not bragging, like legit. I know some people, like there was this girl, med school colleague of mine, now that we're at sharing. She was upset that the professor asked her who fought in World War II, like which were the 2 sides. And she was like, oh, well, why couldn't the professor ask me about something else? And I'm like, well, what do you want the professor to ask you? Because obviously, like, he asked that question because he noticed that she was a bimbo. And I was like, well, why can't she ask me about the type of shoes that I like? And it's like, like what conversation can you have with such a person? But the reason she was at med school is because she was very good at reading a text. Like, she didn't necessarily understand what she was reading, but she read it, she memorized it. At the exam, she would reproduce it to the teacher, she would get a good grade, and, well, obviously she graduated. And then when she went to the hospital, doctors kept cursing at her and kicking her ass until she realized that she needs to learn the job. And she learned the job by, I guess, more like an apprenticeship way of learning rather than learning from the university benches. But it's possible. There's a lot of people who learn the job through apprenticeship. They get the degree, they go to the job, they look at what other people are doing, they copy that, and then they manage to get the job. And then it's, again, the idea of sitting at the university bench as being the epitome of learning. No, absolutely not. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the comment section. Take care.